Welcome in to another edition of the JMU Sports News Podcast. I'm Bennett Conlon, joined by Jack Fitzpatrick. And folks, I'm going right side of my mouth is a little numb right now, coming just from the dentist. So this is like a Michael Jordan flu game kind of thing.
Yeah, so at the end of this podcast, when it's your best podcast you've ever recorded in the last 6 years of us doing this podcast, we know why. It's because you battled through it. You figured out a way to just continue to have a performance unlike any other. I mean, it's truly mesmerizing here on the other side of the screen to watch you what you're doing in this podcast.
Could become like a performance enhancing drug thing where I like have to go to my dentist before every pod, and I'm like, you gotta numb me quick.
Kind of like Brett Favre when he was addicted to Vicodin.
Yeah, very similar.
Is that okay to joke about now, or is that still like not something we should joke about?
Listeners, let us know if that's something we can joke about, or if it's just a welfare thing.
Yeah. I feel like Brett Favre did enough
bad in
game, like everything in his life is fair game. But then again, it is something that is serious, and that is addiction. And something else that is pretty serious is the fact that BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time sports bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. Don't let it become too much of a companion, though. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, BetOnline is the number one sports betting source for this new year. Touchdowns, three-pointers, hat tricks. BetOnline has you covered on every game, every play, and of course, every win. BetOnline, the game starts here.
Sweet.
All right, Bennett, where do you want to start this podcast? I say that half jokingly.
This is our year in review pod. We took a couple weeks off, we recharged, but also there wasn't really that much going on.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger
really what happened.
Point.
And we're going to review 2024, which was pretty good. I don't know if it was 2023 good, but it was pretty good for JMU's athletic department.
It was a nice way to continue. You didn't lose the momentum from 2023. Sure. You maintained the momentum from 2023. And before we dive into the 2024 year in review, not season in review, but whole calendar year in review, do want to just take a time, because we won't have news or snooze today, to shout out our friends over at Cinnamon Bear Bakery and Deli right across the street from the Atlantic Union Bank Center. It's basketball season. All the things that are happening on JMU's campus right now are indoors at the Atlantic Union Bank Center. So you're already over there. Just head right across the street and get some of the best baked goods, everything that you could ever imagine over there at Cinnamon Bear Bakery and Deli. Check them out next time you're in Harrisonburg. And with all of that now out of the way, do you want to take us into your first best moment? And we'll kind of lay out your five, my five, and then kind of go through and rank them. And then we also asked listeners to share some of their favorite moments and memories from 2024 as well. So we have a couple answers of that as well.
Do you want me to start ranking them, or do you want me to throw some out and then I rank?
I think we both throw out. This is the beauty of this podcast, right? We're figuring this out as we go. You say one, you say your five, I say my five, and then we rank them.
Okay. One that immediately comes to mind, right? We're just coming out of football season. The win over North Carolina, scoring 70 points after scoring 13 the game before against Gardner-Webb, was a pleasant surprise, and I think probably the highlight or one of the highlights from the first season of Bob Chesney leading the football program.
That is a good one, and I also have that on my top moments one.
Yeah.
When you painted in that picture the week before scoring 13 against Gardner-Webb to then going on the road at an ACC school and doing what they did, that's a really good way to put it, because sometimes I think we just are hyped up that they put up 70 points against UNC. But when you put it into the fact that the week before they couldn't score 2 touchdowns against an FCS school, pretty cool.
They used that bye week well.
They tended to this year.
They just need a season of byes. Game by.
That'd be really good. Yeah. All right. What's your next one?
Lacrosse throwback, because I guess we're close to, not quite, but it's like 11 months ago to the day, basically. So we're getting close to this being a full year ago, but it was in 2024, opening the season with that win over North Carolina, 19-18 in overtime. Pretty incredible moment. I think gave us some false hope that they were national title contenders, which was fun while it lasted. Still a really, really good team. They made the NCAA tournament. They beat Penn State before losing to Maryland, but the opener against North Carolina, which was like number 3 at the time, was a big deal.
Yeah, that was a really, really fun game. I'm sensing a trend with your UNC picks.
Yeah, basically, if you beat UNC, I put you on my list.
All right, what's your third one?
This one this year I thought was very, very cool. Partially, this is maybe more cooler to me personally, having lived in Florida earlier in my life, grown up, a little bit of a Florida Gator fan. The women's
Okay.
basketball team, late November, beating Florida was a cool one. I thought it was particularly funny that they played a very good mid-major in Northern Arizona the day before and lost. And then they played Florida and controlled them, which speaks to, I guess, maybe Florida's lack of talent this year, but also Northern Arizona's skill. But it was cool for JMU to get an SEC win in women's basketball because it feels like men's basketball, it's easier as a mid-major to pick off like power conference teams. And it's pretty hard in women's basketball where the parity level is, I don't want to say non-existent, but it's almost non-existent. So to do that as a mid-major is a huge deal. I thought that one was very cool.
I mean, you kind of watch the Texas, the Notre Dame, the NC State games this season, where it's like those girls are playing different sports,
Yeah,
than JMU, and like JMU is a top end, the best team in the Sun Belt, and I think there's a little bit of a distance between them and the second best team in the Sun Belt, and then the distance between Notre Dame and JMU, Texas and JMU is pretty stark as well. All right, what's your fourth one?
The bowl win jumps out for football, getting the first bowl win in program history to end the year on a positive note. I thought was a big deal. It was also just like a fun exhibition style game. I'll remember that one positively for a while. Eric O'Neill shooting arrows into the offensive lineman and quarterback is up there. Would have really been up there if he had stayed for his senior season, but it's still going to be a positive memory for me.
For sure. And your last one?
My last one. Oh, I didn't do my highlight one. I was like, which one am I forgetting? Men's basketball, NCAA tournament.
Yes, there we go.
Beating Wisconsin. Just an incredible moment. What a year for them. Capped it off with a pretty impressive crowd in Brooklyn or whatever it was. That was legit. Yeah.
It was Brooklyn.
I knew it was somewhere in New York. I was building it up in my head where I was like, Madison Square Garden. That was
no, funny. It's Barclays.
Yeah, but they found a way to beat Wisconsin, which was cool, and then obviously meant a lot for me personally with family connections to Wisconsin.
Yeah, some were calling that the Bennett Conlin Bowl.
Yeah, that was a big one to get a little bragging rights.
How much bragging rights did you get over what your dad and brother went there, right?
They both went there, yeah. A decent amount, not a crazy amount. I think the 50-point-ish loss to Duke right after kind of quieted me down.
Kind of took the wind out of your sails a bit.
I still need him to see him in football. I think that would be the one that would really be a lot of fun.
That one you would have eternal bragging rights.
We'd have to go, yeah.
Because then there would not be another. They would never rematch, so you would just have that game forever.
Right, it's like they just own them and everything. Yeah,
yeah, just 1-0 for the rest of eternity. We have 2 similarities in our top 5. Okay, you have 3 different ones. So my number 1, I'll start from 5 and go up. This is a personal one, a personal favorite memory from 2024. Going to some JMU football games this year. It's always fun going to the games, seeing them play Georgia State, but more so the Charlotte game. Going back to Charlotte, having them play the 49ers down there in Jerry Richardson Stadium. That's more of a personal favorite memory, but those are definitely some good times from 2024. You didn't bring this one up, man. Baseball regional.
Baseball regional was a good one, yeah.
Making it to the regional final, had some outstanding performances from key players throughout that baseball regional. They shut me up. I had to go on the JMU Sports News Twitter and issue an apology to Eikenberry. But that was really cool to see. It was something that, this might be the hater in me talking, I never expected to see JMU make it to a regional final with Eikenberry as the coach.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
That's some hater talking, but you ready for this third one? This third one nearly went up a little higher.
Okay.
Just the fact that Ginny Lackey is a Duke.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
Like, watching her performance in Sunbelt play this last year, and then one of my favorite things was every podcast just like going into the stats and seeing how they stacked up, and it's like, oh, in 10 games she has 13 goals. That's cool. You're really good. And so just the fact that JMU has her, she's a freshman and has the potential to play 3 more years with JMU. If she sticks around all 3 years, I think there's a really good chance that she will go down as the greatest women's soccer player in JMU women's soccer history. So the fact that we were able to see her career start in 2024 was really cool. And then the two similar ones were my 1 and 2. UNC win, of course, was number 2. Number 1 was the winning of the March Madness game because a tear did come to my eye.
That was a big one.
A couple tears came to my eyes. So with those being known, what would you say the number 1 moment from both of our lists would be?
It's got to be, though, the win over Wisconsin NCAA tournament, right?
I 100% agree. I don't think there's any way around. Like, that
was big time.
That's an entire, maybe I'm being a little hyperbolic. That's an entire athletic program, like, altering type of win.
Yeah, that was huge, especially for a school that, like, the men's basketball history prior to last season, like the recent history, was pretty poor. So for them to win 30-plus games, get in, and then win a game, I think changes the perception a little bit, which you can speak to then with getting Preston Spradlin, who then got Preston Fowler, who will be on campus next year, 4-star recruit. Like, I don't think that happens.
Christian Brown.
Christian Brown's really good as well. So I don't think they get those guys if they're, going like 18 and 15 last year. I guess you saw Byington too.
And also, it'll be really, and we'll talk a little bit about this later because that Arkansas State win kind of gives us some hope that this season is not just going to be kind of like a middling in the Sun Belt type of season. But it's then ever important for Preston Spradlin to build on that and go on another Sun Belt tournament run and potentially win the Sun Belt and find their way into the NCAA tournament for back-to-back seasons. That would just show that the culture has fully shifted for men's basketball because unlike football, where you can kind of take out a coach and put a new coach in, there is that culture of winning. And like, as you know, as it may sound, there's that culture of excellence and all of that around JMU football where you can take out head coaches and put a new head coach in. As long as you get the higher, 85% right, it'll probably work out. Men's basketball doesn't have that, where we'll see how the rest of the season goes for men's basketball. But if he's able to build on it, then you're starting to really turn the tide and break the kind of few decades long kind of just headache that was JMU men's basketball. All right. Number 2, I'm going to say is going to have to be the UNC win.
Yeah. That was a big deal.
Very big deal. Got extreme national spotlight.
Yeah.
What's next for you? What do you think would be next?
Might
bowl
end up.
Win?
Which one?
Bowl win or lacrosse win?
Bowl win, lacrosse win. You could throw baseball regional in there.
I'm gonna let you decide.
We'll give baseball a shout out. We've been a hater for a long time, so I think baseball.
You regional. Said that so begrudgingly. I give baseball the freaking.
Well, I still have my doubts about this next season, but we'll get there in a month or so. But baseball regional was a big deal. They shut us up. It was a big accomplishment for them, and they were competitive in the regional, which I think meant a lot.
Making it to the regional finals, no small feat. I would put the lacrosse win over UNC over the bowl win.
I like that. That's a nationally relevant win. That was a huge deal. Yeah, I think that was a big one. And it was a great game, 19-18 in overtime, like just a really, really good game. I think we had Daniel covering that.
Yeah, and he was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And it was truly a phenomenal game. I guess here at the 5 spot, we should probably put the bowl win.
I think it's got to be in there somewhere.
I didn't even include it in my top 5.
Yeah.
I might be. Some people call me a hater. I guess I'm a hater.
That's fair.
It was cool. It just wasn't one of my top favorite moments from 2000.
I think everyone will probably have their own type of list depending on like what they attended and what.
Yeah.
But I think the non-negotiable is the men's basketball win in the NCAA tournament. That's got to be in your top 5. If it's not in your top 5, I need to know why.
Yeah.
You need to come with reasons because that was pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. So then honorable mentions outside of the top 5 that we just cobbled together there. Other mentions would be the women's basketball win over Florida. The fact that Ginny Lackey is a Duke and Jack's personal of attending JMU football games. So
yeah, I think you could also toss in. I really enjoyed the field hockey had a conference that they were competitive in again.
don't spoil anything yet. We got listeners.
Okay.
We got 18 answers of
Oh my
their
God.
favorite moments. So March Madness win. Someone said, I'm thankful we got the To the House podcast in 2024.
That should be number one. Yeah, good call.
That is zero. Actually, that is zero. It
That's right.
goes over everything. The curb stomp, MRD tenor sacks, the curb stomping of UNC in their own stadium, and then they added the fact that the coach offering to resign afterwards.
That helped. Yeah.
That was a pretty fun thing. Bethany Fitzgerald said women's swim and dive winning the Sun Belt. I do want to say thank you, Bethany, for bringing that up, because women's soccer also won their conference tournament in the 2024 calendar year, as did men's basketball. So congrats to those three programs for winning the Sun Belt title in 2024. Nick Freeman dusting UNC. Of course, someone, I don't know who said this. It's anonymous. Their favorite moment from 2024 was Jack yelling Joby. Which, I mean, it's fair. I did that quite often. Zach Baker easily has to be the March Madness win. The team brought the energy all night, had me jumping up and down like I was a kid again. Hearing the JMU chants throughout the game and seeing the celebrations at the end had me teary-eyed. Couldn't have said it better myself, Zach. Joshua Gingrich said, I know people will say the bowl win or the Wisconsin win, so I'll go with this. Emily Evans becoming a brick wall in the goal in the first round of the women's lacrosse championship. The first round of the NCAA Women's Lacrosse Championship versus Penn State. Big save with 24 seconds left to keep JMU up 1 and win the game.
Another very good game. Yeah, I guess you could take that over the lacrosse UNC win for sure.
Just a lot of bowls, a lot of transfers. Emily Evans saving the day gets another shout out. So 2 for Emily Evans, because that was a really good performance.
Yeah.
David said being front row at the UNC game. Baseball making the regional final, upsetting South Carolina on the way there. Sorry, I was trying to figure out who said this one. This one's from Anonymous. I was at the Atlantic Union Bank Center when they revealed we were facing Wisconsin in the tournament. I've never seen a crowd more fired up and the Wisconsin team so sad. Kicking the beach chickens in the teeth in football is always fun. Yeah. Anonymous said half of fall camp. Donovan Burke going supernova down in Raleigh and then beating the snot out of Wisconsin and UNC. Bennett is dying at half of fall camp, folks. Are you good over there? I've never seen Bennett laugh this hard.
Oh, man.
My favorite moment was seeing that depth charts mattered in August, but then not so much in October and November and December and so on. But that's just me.
Anytime you can keep 2 alums who work in sports media as far away from your program as possible for no reason, you just have to do it. Anyway.
All right. So that brings us to the transfer portal update.
Yeah.
Here, because since the last time we recorded, there's been some action on the transfer portal front. I forget who was the additions the last time we recorded. It may have just been Landon Ellis and Lexington Matthews.
Yeah, they've added a lot.
But if you follow our YouTube, we've been doing exclusive interviews with the newest transfers, trying to nail down a few more here over the next week or so before they get back on campus in January, near the end of this month in January. And if you follow along with our tracker over at jmusportsnews.com, you can see all of the latest additions, targets they've missed out on, recruiting battles they've won, recruiting battles they've lost, and the latest transfer portal departures. The departure section of our tracker won't be updated anytime soon because the portal window has closed. Everyone who has gone in has gone in. Anyone that has not gone in is now a JMU Duke until the spring window that will open up after spring camp. So some of the big names that have come through the transfer portal: Xavier Holmes, the main edge guy. He looks to be like a real stud. Aiden, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I have to figure that out. Goberia.
Sure.
The Notre Dame edge who has not really played any collegiate football, was actually medically retired at the start of the 2024 season, which is why he still has 3 years of eligibility left, despite getting on campus in South Bend in 2022. So he's been a college student 2022, 2023, 2024. He's a grad transfer technically with 3 years of eligibility remaining. He's a very intriguing prospect because dude looks like he can ball from high school. He was a very highly sought after edge out of Chantilly High School, but then injuries just I think 2 ACL tears derailed his collegiate career before it even got started.
Yeah, I had some ACL stuff, so we'll see where he is. I think he'll be good to go. So I guess Notre Dame, I was reading, like they'll medically redshirt you because then it doesn't count against your roster. Like it doesn't count as a scholarship if you medically retire somebody. I should say instead of redshirt. So they've done that
Yeah.
before where people medically retire and then transfer. But so if you medically retire, they keep you on scholarship. So you still have your school paid for with the knowledge that you're probably going to leave to go somewhere else. So I think that was like an agreement there for 2024. He's talented if he's healthy. So that's an interesting one. They just added Jeremiah Mawali is a really good offensive tackle, we think, from Valdosta State, which is one of the better D2 schools pretty much every season. They've done some nice stuff in the portal.
This year, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're going to get to this in a little bit in listener questions, so I want to kind of get ahead of it here. A lot of JMU fans, and rightfully so, when you're going through these transfer portal additions, it's Valdosta State, it's Villanova, it's Holy Cross, Louisiana Tech, East Texas A&M, Maine, Tusculum, Shepherd, St. Francis, Richmond. And I'm not trying to poo-poo those schools, but when you kind of compare it to last year, it was a kid from USF in Florida, Syracuse. You had kind of these bigger P5 transfers coming in. And it seems like this year they've kind of shooed away those P5 guys, P4 guys. You have Chance Harley from Maryland. You have a couple others, Zach Greenberg from UNC, but both of those guys started at lower schools and then made the jump to P4 and now are going back down to G5. So it seems like they're focusing more on those kind of diamond in the rough type of players that began their careers at D3s, D2s, or FCS schools. How do you see that playing out?
I think Chesney last year needed to fill a bunch of roster spots. So he had some guys who were like proven production at lower levels, and then he had some potential guys who were maybe they could translate if they dropped down from the P4 to the G5. I don't want to say he got burned by those, but a lot of them did not work the way he had hoped. Like Lloyd Summerall, I don't think ended up producing maybe as much as they had hoped he could have at defensive end. They had Dylan Morris, right? I think we all thought he was going to be the starting quarterback. Maybe that was because of arm issues, but he came in from Washington, didn't start. So they had a number of P4 guys, and they had some others that I'm blanking on. But they brought in a bunch of P4 caliber guys. They had Nakai Poole from Mississippi State for like a week in the spring, and that didn't work at all. And he was like a 4-star guy or whatever. So I think he's trying to bring in guys he know can produce in college, and he's doing that, and that worked really well last year. Like Eric O'Neill was someone not a lot of people knew or any people knew before he committed to JMU, but his production spoke for itself, and he translated that to the G5. So I like this strategy where you bring in guys who can produce, who have produced, who have played and shown on a college field that they're like a good player. I think that's enough to have you compete in the Sun Belt. Is that enough to go like win a playoff game? Probably not. But like that's not, I don't know if that's realistic. I think getting into the playoff would be the goal. And then you just hope that Bob Chesney, if you get in with Bob Chesney, does what he does against North Carolina, which is like special teams madness, onside kicks, trick plays, like a bunch of nonsense, dialing it up and hope you can try to pull an upset. So I think they have a roster that is plenty good enough to compete and be one of the 5 or 10 best in the group of 5 right now.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And you look at the best players from the transfer portal class was Jesse Ramil, St. Francis, Kyrie Mans. Most of his production came from Maine, not Colorado. And you look Eric O'Neill, Pat McMurtry, all of these guys are coming from FCS ranks and making that jump up. And they were extremely, extremely productive. And if you hit on 4 guys in this class that are extremely productive in that same way, and you have a bunch of role players and good starters or above average starters, you're looking at a team that will compete to win the Sun Belt again. And
Yeah, totally
I
agree.
think it's working well. I mean, they added Kels Bush, a defensive tackle from Louisiana Tech. Curtis Harris Lopez is a safety from Holy Cross. They added a long snapper, and maybe I'm getting too galaxy brained here. That's interesting. Just bringing like a third long snapper on because they already had two. Remember, they had the short snapper and the long snapper this last season.
And they're looking at another guy with long snapping experience, and Christian Smith from Merrimack, who can also play guard, which he is fun. If you've seen his stuff, is really fun to watch. His tape where he's like, I think he's up to 280 or 285 now, but he said last year maybe he was playing at 270 or something. To see somebody long snap and then just be like a guard and sprint down and make tackles is like, whoa. So he's a fun one. But yeah, I don't really know what they're doing at long snapper. But hey,
also not sure what they're doing at tight end because Lakata Dipri, who was tight end when he got to Charlotte,
yes,
was then converted to defensive end and was like a raw but good defensive end that looked like he had a good amount of potential, then flipped back to tight end when he was announced that he was coming to JMU. I don't know what's going on there.
I don't know. Good athlete. I think his brother plays for like Bama at tight end or something. So there's
he's also a big boy.
Yeah, he's like 255, 6'3",
6'3", 255.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see exactly what happens there. But they brought in an interesting collection of players. I think plenty of them will be good. They've had their share of like recruiting losses, including Jameer Khan, I think it's Khan, who committed verbally, really, really good from Southern Illinois, I believe. And then he switched to Nebraska before signing. So clearly was good, right? If Nebraska, Big Ten school, flipped him.
Yeah. All right. So that brings us to listener questions here. We'll do listener questions and then head on over to hardwood to finish up today's podcast. First couple, as always, Daniel Merriman. Which player or players have the best chance of being drafted that were on the 2024 roster? 2025 draft and beyond. Do, 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 do. Oh, he froze. And action.
If you go beyond this upcoming draft, Eric O'Neill's the obvious choice, right? He was on the for a roster and he'll probably get drafted.
Yeah.
Hands out. If you're talking like the current draft, I don't know if anyone will, but like the guys that stand out would be Dobbs, Spence, Mans, maybe somebody on the offensive line.
McMurtry. Ramil.
And then Noe.
Anyone else?
Noe could eventually go pro.
Yeah. I think Noe definitely is a name to watch. I think potentially like if Xavier Holmes has a breakout year, I think Mike Green, let me put down my Velcro. What Mike Green is going to do, where he's going to be a first round draft pick, if he goes on to have like a solid rookie campaign, I think that'll bring a lot of attention to the Sun Belt and scouts' eyes. Probably not like from a national media perspective, but scouts will start to potentially look at the Sun Belt as, they can produce some, high end talent. So I think there's a lot riding on Mike Green. Maybe I'm way over indexing that, but I think there is.
I'm also bad at fringe projections. Like,
yeah, you are.
Jordan Swan, didn't he get like a camp invite or he's like on a practice squad or something? I did not see that coming. So like
he's not on
kind of hard on
squad, but he did get an invite.
Okay. It's hard on the fringes to know exactly who might actually get a look. I don't know that they have a draft player this year because usually if you're at a G5, you got to have crazy production, and then you usually need like an invite to something. Spence is going to the Hula Bowl. I don't count the Hula Bowl. It's like when I say something, like it is a thing that scouts go to, but like Jimmy Moreland balled out at the Senior Bowl and was a 7th round pick. So it's hard to get. Like, are you at the combine? I don't think anyone had a combine invite. So you get to a certain point where it's like it's just hard to get people to draft you when you don't have those looks, but maybe you'll be an undrafted guy.
Potentially Petaway and Adai could maybe, probably less with Adai's injuries concerns now, but Petaway definitely, I think, after another year of good production, could find his way. And
Joby's
he's going to have
yeah.
Joby too.
Yeah,
Joby's a day one guy.
He could be day one if they give him the ball.
I mean, there's so little tread on the tires.
Maybe that's what Jesse was thinking.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Daniel also asked, what position groups do you think the football coaching staff has to attack in the spring portal? I love Daniel.
He's already
The
in the
winter
spring
portal.
portal.
He's already looking ahead to the spring portal. Thoughts on the roster is currently constructed. Really tough non-con next year. Could be boom or bust college football playoff chances.
What the hell is going on at quarterback?
That's the spring portal position that I'm circling because they might have more knowledge after spring ball where Alonzo Barnett's injury is standing. I mean, the dude just had surgery and was on crutches at the Boca Raton Bowl. I'm hearing rumblings that it is very, very, very serious and that his availability for the start of 2025 is in question.
Right. So like if that's how it goes, you got to bring in a starting caliber guy, or you're just like you love JC Evans and maybe Billy Atkins comes back and you try to do something with them, but like you play Louisville the second week of the year. So I don't know. That's the position that has me confused because I like them on offense. I like them on defense. They could still probably use, I don't know, like a defensive tackle, maybe defensive end still, linebacker, maybe. I mean, there's
Corner.
you could take a piece everywhere, right? And be like, oh, it'd be nice if they had another starting caliber guy here. But like the overall roster is pretty good.
Yeah.
But if you don't have Alonzo Barnett at the most important position on the field, or if he's ready to go in like mid-August, and then like you're going into the Louisville game, it's like, does he trust his leg? I don't know.
There's so many questions around Alonzo too, because like I would love a full off season of him being able to prepare
Yes.
as the QB1, something he has
Yes.
never been able to do. I would love for him to be able to kind of use a full off season and get his body better so his ankle doesn't get hurt in week 4 of a 12-week season. Like there's a lot to it. But not only that, if he feels like he has to be ready by week 1, does he rush it? And does he not fully get back to 100%? And does he go into the season at 75% and plays the whole season at 75%? It would be so nice. It'd be so nice to have him sit this year. And if he needs it, if he doesn't need it, that's awesome. But to go into the year like not feeling pressured that you have to play.
Yeah, that's the one position that just I'm very confused by what's going on because everything
Now,
else you can sell me right now that it's ready to go.
if he's ready to go, and the coaching staff has the faith that he'll be 100% by the end of spring ball, so he'll have some time to go through fall camp and everything, and he'll be 100% by week 1. I am pumped to have Alonzo Barnett as the quarterback one. This is not me saying I think they need to bring in a transfer to battle with him. I think I wouldn't hate it either, but I am confident in him being QB1. I think he has the potential and the capabilities to make them a college football playoff caliber team.
Yes. If he's healthy, I would
feel
good with him.
That's a lot of ifs. That's a lot of ifs around a injury that we have no idea what it is.
And it's if Billy Atkins doesn't come back, because he did celebrate senior day, then it's basically him and JC Evans. And then I guess Blake Kendall, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a little, you need something there. Well, because then they had Michael like Merdinger from UNC and Cola Crew from Wisconsin, backups at both those schools, visit.
And then heard anything from that. Yeah.
I haven't heard anything from that. So they both visited and then it's been really quiet. So I don't fully understand what exactly is happening at that position.
We'll see. Because it's clear they're like looking. It's clear they're out there trying to find someone. Sluka also out there.
Sluka, very quiet on the Sluka front, which is weird. He visited Liberty, but they brought in somebody else. Vasco.
Yep.
And then he visited Memphis, and then Memphis brought in Brendan Lewis, who played at Colorado, and then Nevada, was pretty successful at Nevada last year, really good runner. I don't know that he wants to go into like a
QB2
competition
spot
again. So I don't know, but maybe he comes in and if Barnett's not ready, or maybe he's waiting to see. It's all very, very strange at quarterback.
Yeah, very weird. This is from Dominic Palumbo. Does the men's hoops win over Arkansas State change any potential expectations for how far this team can get to / go in the Sun Belt tournament? Is it championship or bust for women's basketball to truly feel like a success? So for the men's basketball part, how does the Arkansas State game kind of reevaluate your outlook on this season?
Coming into the year, I thought they'd be a Sun Belt contender. I was not totally sold on that actually, I still thought that after non-conference play. And then they got boat raced by South Alabama. And I was like, huh. But they've bounced back nicely from that. The Arkansas State win is huge. Here's the thing. I can't view you as a conference championship title threat until you win a road game.
Yes.
They have not won a road game. So win me a road game, and then I'll have an idea. But I was impressed that they showed a little grit in the Arkansas State game because I thought they were dead at halftime.
I 100% agree. They got a big weekend this weekend, starting Thursday, tomorrow. We're recording this on Wednesday, against Marshall and App State, both on the road. If they go 1-1, I'm excited. If they go 2-0, I'm way too bullish. If they go 0-2, I don't think they're Sun Belt champion contenders.
I love this too, where they go Marshall, App State. So they play them on the road, then they play them at home the next week. I also like that the home App State game is a whiteout. Do you think that's to like appease the fans who are like, stop wearing black for App State game?
Yes, 100. Don't wear their primary color.
Yeah, we'll do the opposite.
We will do the literal opposite, as far opposite as can go. So is it championship or bust though for women's basketball?
Yeah, they're sick. So I would say yes, because that team is awesome. They're loaded. Kim Caldwell's
Gone.
She's incredible at Tennessee. She's gone from Marshall, so I'm not
She's
scared
scary,
anymore.
man.
Yeah, have you seen her press conferences where they
Yeah,
like
that's
win
what
by 12? Yeah.
Or when there was that one game they win by 20 and she was like, I'm pissed. We didn't execute well. And it's like, Kim, I get why Rose Scott hated you.
Yeah. Coach was like, you don't have to run that much if you don't want, Ro. Like, just go get buckets for me.
She's like, okay, sounds
right,
good. Yeah, I think it's championship. That team is so good.
They're 5-2 on the road.
And the two losses are
Notre Dame
and NC State.
Yeah, wow. I forgot they beat Villanova on the road. I forgot about they got Villanova in Florida.
Yeah. So big time stuff from men's basketball. Joey Needham asked, do we know any more about Barnett's availability next year? That was a perfect mic drop. We have yet to sign a quarterback in the portal, and we still have no clue how bad he hurt his knee. Joey, I think if you just tuned in to 5 minutes ago on the podcast, we talked pretty much at length about this. We don't know anything about Barnett's availability.
Can we just say how crazy it is, though? From like a coverage perspective? Yeah. That like he is injured on November 30th and nobody has any idea publicly what the issue is or like his potential availability. Like, I don't know. People view him, they're like, yeah, there's a college football playoff contender. What other college football playoff contender has their star quarterback with just completely up in the air with his availability moving forward? Somebody figured this out, man. People are paid right now to do this. Go figure it out.
We've tried to figure things out, but our emails have been left unresponded to. Bill Papp asked men's hoops.
So good, dude.
What?
I said first half of fall camp was so good, dude.
It was so good. Bill Papp, then you had to write a 2 deep, man. Men's hoops, what is the actual offensive identity? The offense seems kind of disjointed still, even with wins, despite having, in my opinion, a very talented roster. Bonus life question. If Signetti had a flat tire, would Chesney stop to help him? Bonus life question first. Yes, he would. And then he'd ask for Aiden Fisher back. On the men's hoops front, I'm right there with you, Bill. It feels like the offensive identity is like chuck threes and good luck.
It really doesn't make sense. Also, how many times in that Arkansas State game, especially the first half, did a guard like scramble somewhere, leave their feet, and throw it to nobody? It felt like there were like 10 straight possessions where they were just like chucking it to no one. I was happy the defense stepped up. But yeah, the offensive identity is like, we're going to get a semi-open three. We're going to jack it. We're going to hope for the best. And then we're going to go play some defense.
You want to hear something crazy about this JMU men's basketball team?
Yeah.
40.3% of their points this season come from the three. That's 16th in the nation of their
Chuckers.
reliance on three. Guess where they rank in twos?
Probably like 347 or something.
347.
I did probably had it pulled up.
Oh, oh man. Darn it.
But it's crazy.
Well, and then you look on the flip side, they don't allow opponents to get a lot of threes against them, but they're abysmal inside. 56% of their opponents' points come from inside the arc. Like, they need to beef up on the inside. Elijah Hutchins Everett showed flashes in non-conference play that he has the capability to be a baller down low. AJ Smith is built like a Sunbelt all-conference linebacker. Why is that dude not just banging down low?
Right?
I don't understand the identity here sometimes of let's just chuck threes. I get that's what the analytics say, but this is mid-major basketball.
Analytics be damned. On the plus side, they haven't lost to what I would consider a bad team yet.
Yes.
Which gives me hope. Like, their schedule this year is so much harder. They have a top 100 non-conference schedule right now. So they've played some decent basketball teams, and the Sun Belt is absolute garbage. So there's going to be some games where, like, they're going to win. They're going to win some road games. Okay, it'll happen. Whether it happens this week or not, it'll happen because some of these teams absolutely suck.
Well, and the plus side too is they're now 1-1 against like the top two teams in the conference.
South Alabama, it turns out, is nice.
Yeah, so South Alabama, good. Some people are saying this is the best team Richie Riley has ever had, and good stuff happened in Mobile. And they're 1-1 against the top two teams in the Sun Belt.
Some people are saying that. Yeah, I've been hearing that all around. I've been walking around Bethesda, and people are, you hear what Richie Riley is doing with the Jaguars?
In
I was
Mobile.
like, wow, yeah. Like, his analytics have really stepped up.
All right, next question. Aiden Waterfield asked, I'm seeing a ton of defensive transfers with few offensive additions outside of the wide receiver room. Are the Dukes losing offensive recruiting battles, or are we not offering as many players on that side of the ball?
They tried to get like that Louisville running back, and he ended up committing to Tulane. And I think part of that was probably like, it's a really hard sell at running back when it's like, hey, do you want to be like running back 5? And they're like, no. What are you talking about? So they're really deep at running back. They don't need running backs. Offensive line, they have added. Receivers, they've added a lot. Tight end, they added. So they've actually added some offensive guys. They don't need running backs. And then we talked about quarterback being just the most confusing position on the planet. But they've added a decent amount. They could use maybe a little more on the offensive line.
Yeah, but their biggest losses happened on the defensive side. So makes sense. When you lose Dobbs, you lose O'Neal, Mans, Spence. Yeah. You needed to replace some of that.
Fitzgerald.
Ray Williams.
Mm-hmm. Sheeran.
Chris Sheeran.
How do we always forget about Sheeran? The guy's like the best player on the defense outside of O'Neal. He's just we love you, Chris Sheeran.
Chris Sheeran fan pod right here. Chris Sheeran on the defensive side, Joby Mallory on the offensive side. Joe Blow 4, do you feel like the level of talent Chesney is bringing in via the portal and high school recruits matches what Signetti was bringing in while JMU? This season, I personally do not, but I just wanted to get your thoughts. He's losing recruits to Tulsa and Akron.
Not really. But so like when you lose at the recruiting stuff, especially in the portal or even in high school, it's hard to know exactly what's going on behind the scenes sometimes. So like when there's an offensive tackle that visited JMU, I forget, was he West Alabama, I think, and he ended up committing to Akron. And then 2 days later, JMU gets this stud D2 Valdosta State tackle. And it's like, okay, like there are probably some behind the scene conversations where it's like you might end up being left tackle 3, or you could start at Akron. And some people would prefer to start and play in their final year of college football. So it's not like Akron's not going out there for the same guys JMU is and like winning them, because Akron is garbage, like really, really bad. You can watch them on a Maction Tuesday and you'll be clear that there's a talent differential. I would say they're losing some legitimate ones to Tulane. Like Tulane's kind of taken them to the woodshed a few times. Memphis once or twice. There have been some guys that like
those NILs are much bigger than JMU's.
Yeah. So they got a little money. So they are losing some, but they're not losing recruiting battles to like bad schools. I think the talent level is on par with what Signetti had. Like, I still think they're a very talented roster.
I also think we've heard this from a lot of our interviews that you can find over on YouTube with the newest transfers, that the coaching staff is very honest.
Yeah.
A lot where Zeron Collins said essentially like, yeah, he was telling me exactly what I need to work on and what I'm bad at on the visit.
Yes.
And you don't hear about coaches doing that all that often, where you're like, hey man, you're horrible at high pointing a football. Here, we're going to try and get you to be better at it. Like normally it's all like, oh, you're awesome. You're going to be great. You're going to get so many receptions. I wouldn't be shocked if on some of these visits or some of these like recruiting conversations, they're kind of like, hey man, like we really like what you can add depth here. Like we think you have the potential to really work, but it's going to take a lot of work that like we can't guarantee you're going to be a starter. We can't guarantee that even with the work, you'll be able to beat out McMurtry at right tackle if he comes back. Like all of this stuff. And so then when you go to Akron and they're like, hey man, do you want to be starting left tackle? Heck yeah. All right. Sign here.
Yeah, there's definitely some of that. So I wouldn't say too many of them have been lost recruiting battles, although Tulane's legit.
And they haven't lost a ton of recruiting battles to similar schools once they get the kids on a visit. They've lost a few, but like if they're visiting JMU, it seems like they're pretty much sold on JMU. Like they are coming there. A lot of the kids that they've lost, a lot of the I feel old saying kids, a lot of the transfers they've lost to didn't even get the chance to take their visit.
Yep, that's a big part of it. And the other thing that goes on behind the scenes is there are times where a player will get offered, be very interested in JMU, someone else will commit to JMU, and JMU will say, we don't have an offer anymore. So there, when it's like,
yes.
So it's like, oh, they lost a recruiting battle. It's like, they might have just like pulled the offer.
Especially in transfer world where like things are happening 1,000 miles a minute.
Where you want like 1 to 2 tackles and you offered 5 and 5 of them are like, oh, I'm excited. It's like they don't want 7 left tackles because that doesn't make sense for roster management.
Yeah. Aiden also asked, how do you feel about Aiden Goberia? I can't find much information on him. Is he pulling a Tyshawn Wyatt? Would we expect him to be healthy this season? Anything else you found out about him? We talked about it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
You said it, Notre Dame. You said it earlier. Notre Dame kind of flubbed some things with their medical retirements.
He pulled the Tyshawn Wyatt at Notre Dame, like mutually.
Yeah, mutually. They said you can have your scholarship this year and it's not going to count towards anything. So if he's healthy, could be really good. If he's not healthy, I feel pretty comfortable about that position group. Yeah. Feels like a high upside, low downside type of transfer addition.
Agreed.
I have Mace Winduke's question coming up last. Connor Ray, what team GPA does JMU need to get before they make a graphic?
You see the Texas State one?
2.58?
2.84.
Sorry.
Give him a little credit, please.
Sorry.
But they posted it in their like highest GPA in team history. Why would you post the number? Just say you had the highest. Sub 3 is not like you're going to get dunked on. They had to hide replies. What would you say though for JMU if they had a team-wide GPA where they had to post it and not get clowned?
3.1.
But even then, I feel like you shouldn't post it. Like that's pretty good across like 100 plus people.
Yeah, I would say still don't post it though.
Yeah, there's never really. You'd have to be. I think to like really be cool, you'd have to be like 3.5 plus.
What was your GPA in college?
I was probably 3.5-ish.
I think I was like a 3.2, 3.3.
Anything over 3.
Thanks.
I think is postable. Yeah, but sub 3, acting like you've accomplished something incredible is weird.
The insane thing is like the highest in team history. The highest in team histories. That's the insane part where it's like,
what have they been getting?
Like, yeah, are you guys that idiotic? Like you have so many things at your disposal to use to get better grades that the average student does not have.
Fans to reply to that, be like, hell yeah. 2.84. Let's go, boys.
Just bought my season tickets. Let's go. Eat them up, cats. Woo! GJ Kenny can't be stopped, baby.
Eat them up, cats. Giving them Sam Houston.
Oh. My bad. All right, next question. Why only one portal offer to a QB with no real experience? AB3 injury not significant. That we don't know.
Who knows, man? Where's Sluka? Somebody get an update on Sluka.
We've tried. We've emailed his agent 3
Yeah,
times.
we reach out to Sluka daily.
I will say maybe they're waiting for the spring for things to materialize a little bit.
Yeah, they might want to know more about the leg.
Yeah. What season? And that also is probably a hindrance to like transfer QBs coming in, where it's like, hey,
Yeah.
our star quarterback might be returning, or he might not be. And it's like, well, is he or is he not?
Yeah.
What season do you think we have had the best secondary? And do you think what season do you think we've had the best secondary? And do you think that could happen again? That's got to be like the national championship year, right?
I guess at one point, did they have Raven Green and Jimmy Moreland in the same secondary?
Yeah.
Like NFL players?
Yeah.
That was probably pretty good.
That was probably a really good one. Do you think that could happen again? They need to. Yeah, I think it could happen again. Will it happen this season? I don't know. Chauncey has to take a big step forward, man.
Yeah, I got some questions at corner still, although they added some guys that I like.
Jameer Khan would have been nice.
It would have been huge. But I love the safeties.
Safeties are great. Chauncey's got to take a pretty big step forward. Benched at times this last season.
Yeah.
Finished the year kind of as cornerback 3 after beginning as cornerback 1.
Wouldn't hate a little Travis Hunter treatment. Give him some snaps at receiver just to get him flowing.
Exactly. That's exactly right. All right. Mace Winduke asked, can I get your picks, first and second place, for the January Grand Sumo Tournament?
Is there a list?
Did you click this link?
I will in a second.
Okay, you need to click this link because it is a list of a lot of sumo wrestlers. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know what mainly any of this means. And so,
such a good question. Okay.
Wait, I'm going to share
How do we
my
know
screen.
who to pick?
I got to share my screen here because for YouTube watchers, this is very much worth. If you're a podcast listener, this is worth Mace Winduke's question right now. Very much should take you to YouTube right now to look. How do we pick? Who do we pick? What does Yokozuno mean? Ozeki, Sekiwaki, Homostubi. What do those mean?
I don't know. When is this taking place? Just January?
Just January. It's happening now. What do we have to pick? Okay.
First and second place.
So, like, are all of these people fighting
from this?
Okay. I'm gonna go with Kirishima and Wakatakakage.
I like Yora.
Ooh, no, good one.
Takara Fuji.
Okay, Takara
You see
Fuji.
him on the right?
Where
number
is
8.
He? Number 8. Whoa.
Yeah, that's a big dude. He's ready to compete, I feel like.
You think any of these guys got college eligibility left?
Yeah, I'd love to see one of these guys.
Yo, Hoka to Fuji, number 14, left side.
Whoa. Okay.
Wow. Ooh, let's look at ticket information.
One of the things I'm noticing is all these guys have size.
We can still buy, first day is January 12th, so we can still buy tickets.
Okay.
Interesting. Tournament schedule. That's what I'm in.
Is Mace Winduke is this like a random question, or does this person know about this event?
I have no clue.
Let us know.
Let us know, Mace Winduke. All right. That's it for listener questions. I have no idea what we just said or what we just did. And before we get up on out of here, did you hear that noise?
Yeah, I thought you had a gong.
Hardwood update. All right, so we talked about a little bit in the listener questions. We'll start with men's basketball, then jump on over to women's basketball because women's basketball are dogs. Big win against Arkansas State. Were there any big takeaways you had from that game overall, Bennett? And things you want to look for in these 2 away games this weekend?
Just go get them. You know what I mean? Like it's all about who wants it more, who's tougher, who's more gritty, who's built like a winner.
That's exactly
No,
right.
there's I don't know, like win a road game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to take them seriously when they're winless on the road.
Their stats are just so interesting. They take a really long time to shoot a ball. They rank 320th in the nation in average possession length, and then they just take ill-advised threes half the time. It's like
really funny to watch.
it's I think I was texting you and Dom at one point in the Arkansas State game where I was just like, it looks like for stretches they're playing pickup basketball.
Yeah, they're like, we're probing. Three. We're probing. We're probing. Like you can tell when the shot clock gets to a certain amount and like one of the main guards touches it, it's like, oh, they're shooting. It's just a matter of like where they're going to shoot from and which move they would like to get into their 3-pointer from.
Yeah. I will say they recently made the change, or I guess not recently now. It was around, I want to say the South Alabama-ish game. They put Mark Freeman at the 1 and put Xavier Brown at the 2. So Mark Freeman became the primary ball handler up the court. And I think that has kind of opened things up a bit more on the offensive side, and it makes a little bit more sense. And then he had his huge game against Southern Miss. I'd like to see Bryce Lindsey kind of get utilized a little bit more. Seems like he's been kept relatively quiet these last few games. Hasn't blown up for the big games. Noah Williams is a name you got to keep an eye on because that dude, every time he gets to the court, it's like, whoa, he's good.
Yeah, Noah Williams can go get some buckets. Yeah, I'm interested to see how they do on the road because it'd be nice if they could get some in this next stretch because then the rest of the season, man, has some absolutely dreadful opponents on it. Like they're going to be favored in a lot of games. Ken Palm's got them going 12-6 in the league, which is kind of crazy. But
Ken Palm has them losing these next 2 by 1 point.
Would love to see him get both of them, just win out, keep cruising. But yeah, I'd love to see a little to be more serious. I'd love to see some offensive like flow and then like just a little more identity of like if we're taking threes, we're trying to really move the ball and get it to somebody and get an open look for 3. If we're not taking a 3, we're like trying to get the ball inside to Hutchins Everett, or we're slashing and trying to draw fouls and actually trying to make a legitimate drive to the rim or driving and kicking for a 3. Just something that seems a little more like I'm dribbling and moving with a purpose and not some of it where it's like, I'm just going to wing it. I'm going to see what happens. Like we're dogs. We got 5 dogs. It feels like there's too much of that.
I'd love for them to get an identity on offense or defense. Like maybe we were just kind of, I don't know, spoiled with Mark Byington the last few years where like he had a very set offensive and defensive identity.
Yeah.
Where Spradlin, I thought did, where it was like, we're going to play great defense and then like kind of boa constrict you with our offense. Defensively, they're like, all right. They rank 310th in the nation though in turnover percentage. They don't force a lot of, they don't force any turnovers. You're relying on your defense to like just stop a shot. And that sometimes works. And like you've seen it in games this year where like they go on these crazy good defensive stretches for 5-7 minutes, which results in their offense finding a good rhythm for those 5-7 minutes. But then when the opponent starts like hitting shots, things start to go a little bit off the rails. So we'll see how it all goes. Thursday, tomorrow, they play Marshall and then App State on Saturday. Both of those games, Ken Palm has them losing by 1 point. 49% chance to win, 46% chance to win, respectively. Should be some really interesting games. If they're able to pull out one of them, it'll tell you a lot about this team. And then women's basketball, dogs.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they don't lose a Sun Belt game.
Okay, no, they will.
Will they?
I mean,
will they?
This is college basketball. I feel
will
like there's bound to be a stinker. I mean, they are coming off of a 68-63 win at Louisiana last Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
That was a game they were down pretty solidly at one point, right? Am I tripping or am I mixing that up with the Troy game?
No, they're down 20-10 after the first quarter.
Okay, so yeah, back-to-back games to start Sunbelt play. They went down double digits and battled back to win. And then they went to San Marcos and just blew the socks off of Texas State, 81-60.
Yeah, and then they get a chance to play Marshall on Thursday without Kim Caldwell, which just feels good, man, because that was brutal last year. Why was she in the Sun Belt?
She's such a good coach. I will say shout out Kim Caldwell for making Rose Scott mad and bringing her to JMU, because Rose Scott has been something that I feel like JMU hasn't had in a really long time, which is a secondary scorer off the bench.
Yes.
Like Hazel has always been kind of that secondary offensive option from the guard spot since she's been in Harrisonburg with Peyton McDaniel, but they never really, like, if McDaniel and Hazel were off the court, things felt a little disjointed at times. Now it's like, oh, you got Rose Scott too. Rose Scott's second on the team in scoring, averaging 12.9 points. Kozlova also averaging double digits, and Hazel's fourth on the team, averaging 7.5 points per game. I do want to say Neil Harrow, his return to the coaching staff this season,
Big.
He's very good.
That was fortunate.
Like, this team offensively has an identity again. Not saying they didn't have one last year, but I think a lot of times we're like, oh, they lost Caroline Germain. They don't have a point guard. That's why this offense is kind of struggling at times. Now looking back, I'm like, maybe it was because Neil Harrow left for the Sparks.
They had him last year, though, right?
No.
I thought he left in the offseason.
Might have to cut this from the podcast.
I thought he left for the summer and then came back.
I'm looking it up. Damn, you might be right. We'll keep this in the podcast. I'll own this.
But he is very good. They also, they're 2P4, 5, 6, whatever it is for basketball.
Yeah.
Transfer guards have been really good. I know Coach O loves Bree Robinson from Michigan State, and then Zakiya Stevenson from Ole Miss has also been reliable. It seems like the most properly constructed JMU women's basketball team in a few years.
Since the COVID year.
Yeah, multiple scorers, good defenders, reliable post presence, ball handlers. It's more cohesive. Usually they're lacking something obvious where it's we can score a little, we play some good D, but we can't dribble. It's oh, shoot. That seems like it might be a problem against future Tennessee coach who only presses. And it was a huge problem. But this year they seem like they're a little bit more capable to handle different defenses.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you got to add before we get up on out of here?
No.
Okay. Not sure why we needed to close to the mic chat there, but
the Detroit Lions are well on their way to a Super Bowl championship.
Did you say the Detroit Lions are pulling their weight on the way to a Super Bowl championship?
They're well on their way.
Oh, yeah, with all their injuries on the defensive side?
This is the thing, man. Injuries don't matter if you have grit and heart, and that's what I'm going to keep going into the college football season. I don't care who JMU adds in the portal. It's college football playoff or bust because it's about grit. It's about heart. It's about visiting pools.
Oh, visiting pools. Yeah. Sure. How do you feel about the Lions going into the playoffs now?
Feel good.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen.
You going to see the first Super Bowl in your lifetime?
But I'm excited for the journey. It could be, they could get there. They should have gotten there last year. But if they get there this year, it'd be cool. And we'll see what happens.
All right. For Bennett Conlon, he's seeing what happens. I'm Jack Fitzpatrick. Thank you so much for tuning into the JMU Sports News Podcast, presented by Bet Online. You can find all of the latest happenings, everything you need to know about the transfer portal over on jmusportsnews.com, and stay along with everything that's happening on social media at JMU Sports News on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And if you're liking the content, feel free to buy us a coffee, beer, tea, whatever, at buymeacoffee.com/JMU Sports News.
For Loco.
And if you can't do that, what was that?
Nothing.
Oh, I was on a roll, man. And
I
if you
said
can't do
Four
that,
Loko.
that's fine. Oh, Four Loko. Were you a Four Loko guy in college?
You buy us a Four Loko. No, my God, I would die, I think.
I would love
Were you
to
a Four
see-
Loko guy?
I would drink Four Locos, yeah.
No. I can never take one of those.
You
Or
would
drink
get
one of
drunk.
them, whatever you
You
do.
would drink a sip and be drunk.
I think I would die, yeah.
I would love to have you taste a Four Loko. I was a green apple Four Loko guy.
I used to love like green apple Smirnoff.
Really? What was your go-to drink in college? Beer?
But anything that was available. Probably beer, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Learning a lot about you here.
Now I'm more of a collective bourbon guy. I get one every time the Duke's out of commit.
So you have a lot of bourbon laying around your apartment now.
Yeah, I'm one of the highest donors to the collective.
You're not. The Baltimore Sun doesn't pay you that well.
That's true. That's very true.
All right. If you can't buy us a coffee, you can. We would love if you subscribe and rate the podcast wherever you're listening to the podcast. If you leave a written one, we'll read it out on the podcast because some of them are absolutely fantastic. You know, Cicero, Winston Churchill, those types of things. You can check all of that out. Just like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify podcasts. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. See ya.